Hello everyone. This video will be on the longest side due to one simple reason. From the statistics displayed on my YouTube analytics page, I figured these types of videos would be more engaging to you rather than shorter ones. For today's project, we will try to answer the metaphorical question, is Ambessa a wolf? Let us call this the primary question. Why do I inquire about such a strange thing? Well, apart from the fact that Ambessa is very topical as of late, the inner human wolf ethical paradigm Ambessa proposes is engulfed by a shadow, the shadow of perfect balance between what's truly unknown and what's truly unknown. So, does this question share the most core attribute that all humans possess? By this I mean, does it hold any meaning at all? Or does it aspire to hold any? Will this question resolve itself by the end of the video? Just what kind of question are we talking about? The exploration of the question, is Ambessa a wolf, will represent for us a philosophical journey. There are many types of philosophical journeys. Intrapersonal as opposed to interpersonal, for example, guided as opposed to unguided, and so on. This philosophical journey will be a philosophical tour. I won't be wasting any more of your time by digging into yet another topic, that being the travel lexicon. It will be almost entirely irrelevant to the topic at hand, as it was given. The only thing I can assure you on is that through this experience, you will be able to go from philosophical place to philosophical place, and by the end of it, your perception of Ambessa and of the League of Legends universe may be drastically altered. We will talk mainly ethics and metaphysics. For the beginning of the next section, I will explain to you what our philosophical tour will entail with precision. We'll be collecting evidence for each of the two possible answers, the two being, of course, synonyms of affirmative or negative, respectively, while developing the video's conclusion or thesis, which will be a straightforward answer. At this point, I should point out that I will be analyzing Ambessa solely on her Champions entry. Without further ado, we can begin by analyzing the relationship between Ambessa's main law source, her biography, and the question we have posed. For our first approach, we will be analyzing a dictum. For what is there of more importance to someone than their own distilled words? One might argue that people are not much more than that even. I will highlight how knowing someone means knowing what they hold highest. Back to the biography. In it, it is crystal clear as to what her mantra is. The mantra that she proudly espouses when in front of anyone. The mantra which is one with her apparent character. The mantra which made her the leader she is today. And that is, in all things be the wolf. Does her own mantra apply to herself? Answering this right now would mean getting ahead of ourselves. So, to first understand what it is we're asking, really, we should get to know what exactly the significance of this combination of words means. In this way, we would also be advancing ourselves toward a better philosophical position from which to answer the primary question. The third part of the mantra doesn't seem to necessitate a long explanation, so I'll be as brief as possible. In all things, is a preamble for the last part of the mantra, so it gives it much needed context. The first half of the entire expression, interpreted literally, implicitly depicts situations as in some way tangible objects. It gives them an inward and outward space. It tries to regress in some manner, to return to a state in which only physical, as opposed to metaphysical, objects can be the topic of discussion, the specific way started, thus ever so slightly stripping down whatever comes after the preamble of its immense abstract and perhaps even rhetorical power. This first half also universalizes the rule as follows, meaning that inside every single thing, be it physical or abstract, in its principal characteristics, there is a space in which to apply said rule. If, for example, the rule was, life should be preserved, we will understand how the preservation of the life would be inside all things belonging to the universe, to our universe. Note how I created a normative mantra, which is the same type as mantra as Ambessa's, and not a descriptive mantra. This means that my mantra and Ambessa's are not attempting to describe the world as we perceive it, but instead we are both presenting our will to it. Be the wolf. That's how she ends her majestic mantra. What does it mean to be the wolf in all things? Everything taken into account, it seems to mean something to the effect of no matter the peculiarity of the instance at hand, one ought to act more like me. I'll lead the way, show you the ropes, so to say, but you will need to be willing to follow, to emulate my central characteristics. Why do I say this? Because Ambassador is more evil than she is good, and the main property of evil, here I mean evil as Mother Nature's taking hand rather than the giving one, is to spontaneously reproduce itself in other things. Evil and good retain the same property as they are made of the same fabric, fundamentally speaking. They play by the same rules, one could say even more straightforwardly. Evil thus employs among its ranks. What does it employ? Everything, no distinction made. Evil's main objective is to become everything, to engulf everything. This brings us to the fact that, from the feudal point of view, which is League of Legends' point of view actually, evil can be more easily associated to chaos rather than order. Surely there are also examples of the contrary, but those are exceptions to the rule which remains untouched. As a matter of fact, Christians adopt this particular metaphysical theory. The evil which yearns for the usurpation of the ultimate good through unending conquest. Coming back to League of Legends, the void perfectly depicts evil, all-consuming and still impossible to fathom. I would like to briefly point out that all ideologies devour and become stronger with every uncaring chew, and Ambassador is an ideologue. This should represent the first step toward her judgment. So is she evil? I don't know that she is sure to be, but mine is a gut feeling. That also must come into play at times in these types of evaluations. Having read her biography, I understand how the riot team behind her conception exaggerated her gimmicky, more animalistic side, though yes, did also a great job at graying and deepening her the champion, and what her position on the objective ethical spectrum would be. Yes, there is such a thing as an objective ethical spectrum in the world of League of Legends, but maybe that's a topic for another video. For now, we'll stick to saying that Ambassador is more evil than she is good. I'll propose once more, for this section, the same secondary question as before. Does Ambassador's mantra apply to herself? Well, to answer this question, unfortunately we must answer before the main question of the video, is Ambassador a wolf? This latter question is dichotomic. We will transform this dichotomy into a continuum, where at one extreme Ambassador is the wolf in all things. Of course, at the other end of the continuum, Ambassador is never the wolf, which is different to saying that she isn't the wolf. Let's close the mantra chapter and open the metaphor chapter now. I'd like to dedicate some time to understanding metaphors as a whole, since they are the main topic of this video. I've come up with a definition that follows, which aims to give you a taste of what a metaphor is more precisely. To be something loosely is for something to act or react in the same way as that something. For something to be the same metaphorical entity as something else is for something to both act and react in the same way as that something else. This explanation could get much more complicated very quickly from here, but I won't get any more fundamental than this throughout the video, I promise. Let's give you an example of a simple and a pure metaphor. Note that the two attributes just mentioned are functionally independent with respect to any given metaphor. This means there is little to no noteworthy relationship between a metaphor's simplicity and its purity, at least for our purposes. Regardless, let's say that I, for example, express that a guy that I used to know was a real monster. What one could argue is that what I am truly saying is that a guy that I used to know was like a real monster. Again, one might ask in what way that guy was like a real monster, and that's a perfectly reasonable question to be asking. I'll stick to saying that my comment was directed to the guy's explosive anger issues for this example. Now for the action/reaction, or more fundamentally, activity-passivity analysis that I alluded to earlier. In this example, it's not so up to debate whether the guy that I used to know was a real monster in an active or a reactive way. Being a monster in this context is an action, not a reaction, although certainly the vast majority of actions are in no likelihood reaction in the sense that they are deterministically caused by a prior action. Anyway, this example hopefully managed to convey a crucial aspect of metaphors. They are tricky yet highly sophisticated philosophical entities. Both the primary and secondary questions, the two being respectively, is Ambessa a wolf and would Ambessa's mantra apply to herself, are metaphorical questions as I already stated some time ago in the video. The first one explicitly so, whereas the second one implicitly so. For a better grasp of the metaphoric essence within the secondary question, it can also be posed as the following. Is Ambessa in all things a wolf? If our questions were keyholes, whose doors led to unfiltered philosophical knowledge, then this would vaguely suggest us the shape of our two keys. I'm afraid to say our answers cannot be definitive answers. We have entered, and we will again shortly, the territory of metaphysics. This means the keys we're looking for should have all sorts of bendings to them. How come, you may be asking? Well, pay attention to the morphology of the words metaphor and metaphysics. They are both meta in some way, or as the ancient Greeks would say, beyond something. This is an irrefutable proof that we are trying to reach something from some place we cannot fully see. Still, we should persevere and try to find some semblance of an answer. On to Ambessa's description. Here's what's written at the end of it. It reads, embracing the merciless ways of the wolf, Ambessa will do whatever it takes to protect her family's legacy, even at the cost of her own children's love. This is the last piece to our puzzle. It's where everything comes together and converges in some meaningful way. Another side note here. The law strongly and boldly implies that Ambessa is a wolf, but we are trying to check whether everything else is coherent with that notion. So that's what we are doing at the moment, checking for logical inconsistencies between the different notions within the same law. I'll repeat what I read just a few moments back, so that we are on the same page. Embracing the merciless ways of the wolf, Ambessa will do whatever it takes to protect her family's legacy, even at the cost of her own children's love. What is the wolf? What is Ambessa? Do these two concepts hypothetically call for each other in some manner? I'll strictly be speaking in abstractions in the next few sentences. Bear with me. With the little evidence we can gather from the web page, we could argue that to Ambessa Medada, the wolf is improving yourself to your kin without hesitation. The wolf is the brindling of one's intrinsic growing ambition through his or her own evolution. The wolf is the universal and the omnipresent back of the coin. With this triangulation of the idea of wolfness in mind, is Ambessa in all things a wolf? No part of her is truly wolf, and it couldn't be so. In a world of power, delivered by magical predisposition, and feral abilities as a product of special blood, Ambessa is just a mere human. A ruthless one, perhaps, and surely a powerful one, in many ways, but still a human. She created an aura around her, and an ideology and a mantra to accompany it, with the goal of accruing more power. But Ambessa the leader is a mask, a facade. Ambessa is alleged to have loved. She has birthed and perhaps even nurtured some into wolfhood. And to the objection, wolves give birth and nurture too. I full-throatedly say this. Wolves are no full wolves either. Wolves are human in their birthing and nurturing. They may even be more human than humans in these actions nowadays. So here you have your answer restated. It's more no than yes. But the problem is not with Ambessa. She desperately tries to be a wolf. It's with the bar she set for herself. No matter how hard one can try, no person can ever be an animal, as much as people are indeed classified as animals, scientifically speaking. Our primary question has an answer to it now. No, Ambessa is no wolf. Our secondary question also does have an answer to it now. Ambessa is more human than she is wolf. Let's view our question through a new perspective. It would be neglectful on my end if I didn't also share with you that Ambessa can be separated into prefix and suffix, the two being respectively amb and essa. They are translated from the Latin into to, and from the ancient Greek into rapid movement. When coupling these two words with the concept of the wolf, it becomes clear that the name itself, Ambessa, represents a pack of wolves relentlessly following and rapidly encircling their prey. As her quote appropriately states, an enemy of mine is an enemy of my family. I'd like to take just a few moments to say that the script for this video was about 9/10 done for more than a week. In it, much happened for Red Games. I limit myself to mentioning the ending of Arcane and the incoming man in New League of Legends mechanics. But those can easily be the topic for future videos, so forget about them for the time being. In the present video, I worked hard to articulate my elaborations in a clearer way. But unfortunately, I was never happy with the script. It always seemed as though I couldn't give the answer I wanted to the question I had posed myself. Or at least, my reasoning resulted lackluster to myself. Sometimes, though, you should just take the leap. This means, sometimes, ending a project even though you're not totally happy with it. Fools will never be, perhaps. So, hopefully you have enjoyed peeking into my mind. Goodbye.